Michelle Hurt.
My name is Michelle Hertz. I live in Ackford, and I am the founder of Stop Smart Meters NY. 4 years ago, I was injured by the radiation from smart meters. Since that time, I've been researching and documenting and reporting on this problem. Electric, water, and gas utility providers began installing smart meters on homes, schools, and businesses in Ulster County and elsewhere in New York several years ago, remarkably without ever assessing their impact on customers' health and safety. Because these meters are now adversely affecting the health of Ulster County residents, we believe they warrant the Ulster County Legislature's scrutiny. Generally, smart meters are capable of measuring, recording, and sending detailed data from a customer's home to a utility utilizing one or two-way communication. Each meter emits unprecedented radio frequency radiation inside and outside homes. This is particularly troubling because these meters subject people in buildings where they are installed to constant and cumulative radiation. Where smart meters have been installed, residents are reporting ringing in the ears, dizziness, insomnia, strokes, heart problems, and neurological and cognitive difficulties. Too many people in this county and in New York State are reporting the exact same symptoms. It can't be a coincidence. We've provided a packet for the health and environmental committees, and you'll see them on your desks. That includes the movie Take Back Your Power and some very important documents. And we hope you'll take a look at that and consider having hearings here. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Raji Nevin. I live in Woodstock, New York. I'm someone who's been personally affected by digital smart meters, one that was placed on our home. I became very sick and eventually hospitalized by the effects of the 24/7 pulsing microwave EMFs emitted by this digital meter, which was installed directly on the other side of the wall from where I slept. After 2 months of attempting to communicate with Central Hudson in writing, certified return receipt, explaining the urgency of the restoration of our analog meter due to a household member becoming ill and then hospitalized, we did not receive a response from Central Hudson, not even a phone call. Steve Romine, my significant other, decided he was not willing to risk the possibility of an even greater health issue arising. So he decided to act in self-defense and remove the digital smart meter from our home on May 16th. The digital smart meter was replaced with a safe, brand new, zeroed out, calibrated General Electric analog meter. 4 days later, on May 20th, Central Hudson came to our home with no notice, no phone call, and cut our wires. We've been without electricity since that time. We still have no electricity. It should be noted that the Maine Supreme Court ruled last year that the Public Utilities Commission had not adequately addressed safety concerns about the utility company's installation of these smart meters, which then prompted an investigation focused primarily on the health risks of these meters. There's a mountain of scientific evidence that can certainly prove that the amounts of pulsing microwave radio frequency being emitted from these digital meters is well above what is the safe limit for human beings. You can begin by simply reading the Bioinitiative Report of 2012, written by 21 PhDs and 10 MDs from around the world. And then you will begin to understand the urgency behind our request here tonight to have smart meter hearings held in the state of New York. We are not necessarily advocating the abolishment of RF technologies, only the use of common sense and the implementation of the best practices in using these technologies in order to reduce human exposure and the high risk of health hazards that exist. It should be noted that the entire country of Italy has opted for hardwiring their entire utility system, thereby eliminating all health concerns. We the people urge you to please follow the remarkable common sense and courage of those who have followed a path that is safe and acceptable for all concerned.
Thank you, ma'am.
I thank you for your time and consideration.
June Taggart.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to speak about the smart meters. I've made a statement. I adamantly oppose the installation of any type of meter that emits microwave radiation, could start a fire, is not UL approved, and has been shown to create health and well-being problems to the inhabitants. Numerous and well-documented studies by physicians and scientists across the globe have shown terrible health problems caused by these meters. I contacted Central Hudson advising they do not have consent to come on my property and install their digital meter. Their reply insists that they are not smart meters but digital meters. It is a smart meter, and a little research shows they are classified as smart meters. Instruments measuring radio frequencies on already installed digital meters indicate pulsing of high levels of microwave radiation thousands of times a day, not the often quoted twice a day. I am deeply disappointed that the proposed opt-out legislation did not move forward in New York. Why should I be a guinea pig to this new dangerous technology? Why should I risk getting cancer or having a stroke? Because this utility monopoly is deploying for the sake of profit a harmful device and not even allowing an opt-out. I urge you to open hearings and obtain independent studies on health effects. Surely, the precautionary principle is warranted in this case. Thank you for your attention on this urgent issue.
Jay Wenk.
Good evening. Good evening. I've come to urge this legislature to have a hearing on this issue. I can't call them smart meters. To me, they're nasty meters. I won't belabor you tonight with my own personal view on it, but I do want to say that my constituents in Woodstock are up in arms in a very negative way about these meters. And that cuts across all classes and all income groups and so forth. And I've also been authorized to say that the Woodstock Town Board unanimously requests that you consider having a hearing on this issue ASAP. Thank you very much.
Kate Reese-Hurd.
The PSC recently sent me a 2010 Utilities Telecom Council article called No Threat from Smart Meters. It states that the FCC's limits for radio frequency exposures are based on the amounts needed to heat body tissues sufficiently to cause rats to change their behavior. And it concludes that radio frequencies emitted by smart meters, cell phones, wireless routers, etc. can only damage the body at extremely high levels. Recent science shows this is far off the mark. Extremely low levels are bioactive, and many effects stem directly from the pulsing nature of wireless RF radiations. The Bioinitiative peer report of over 1,800 new studies urges an immediate international limit of no more than 0.03 milliwatts per meter squared, because biological effects are seen at levels at least this low. The Austrian Medical Association sets the limit far lower than that at 0.001 milliwatts per square meter. We must pay attention. Whatever the FCC limits are, clearly the whole body exposure readings I've taken of 100 milliwatts per meter squared at 1 feet and 13.3 milliwatts per meter squared at 3 feet away from a meter a smart meter is allowed up to 6,000 times the level at which biological effects and disruption is being seen. The constant on-off Wi-Fi pulsing of all such devices harasses cellular functions that depend on clear bioelectrical signals that regulate nerve, heart, and so on, as you've heard. I've discovered that the direct cause of the disquiet in my own chest, in my heartbeat, was the cordless phone base station and wireless router in my home emitting pulsing Wi-Fi 24/7. Since silencing it and going ground, the difference is night and day. And herein is my sense of alarm about meters. They are permanent installations. Whatever their emissions are now, where they spike at least 4 to 5 times a minute, 24/7, whether transmitting or not, this will increase. Each meter is to keep constant contact with smart chips in household appliances and with up to 1,000 neighboring meters. All of this wireless pulsing must go through my dwelling, my workplace, and through me permanently. This is toxic trespass. I have the freedom to choose to remove Wi-Fi from within my home for health reasons. I will have no freedom and no control over this unremitting trespass and no escape from it. This technology has been channeled, now flooded into our lives in an innocent until proven guilty manner that belongs only to humans, not to phenomena that have never been a part of the natural system. My last sentence here. Please join us as we educate ourselves and act. In just 5 generations of exposures equivalent to ours, rats can't reproduce. Please let us not add permanent metering to this overload. I encourage you, and thank you for hearing us.
Toby Stover.
Good evening. My name is Toby Stover. Until recently, I was working from my home as a health coach. I have been living in High Falls for 33 years and have been a long-time customer of Central Hudson. In July, I leased a solar system to green my home. In August, without my knowledge or consent, Central Hudson removed my analog meter and installed a GE Itron smart meter on my property. Within 1 week, after becoming unusually ill without explanation, I discovered the meter. I complained to my utility and the PSC. Both told me that it was not a smart meter because it is not a two-way meter and that it was perfectly safe. Central Hudson claimed it was essential in order to read the solar system. I checked with Sungevity, the solar company, who assured me that their systems work perfectly well with ordinary analog meters still in use in states that have opted out of smart meters. When I demanded that Central Hudson return the analog meter, they told me that analog meters are no longer available and are not being made, a willful misrepresentation. They refused to remove the meter. In my own research, I learned that this is a one-way, microwave-emitting, high EMF frequency radiating device, dangerous and incompatible with life. It is called a smart meter. I discovered alarming reports of identical and similar symptoms that I was experiencing. The symptoms were so bad that I, as a 61-year-old, could not bear to live or sleep in my own home. I suffered heart palpitations, a resting heart rate of over 100 beats per minute, stinging sensations all over my skin, severe nausea, insomnia, endocrine disruption, bruises which would not heal, and daily migraine headaches. I had no choice but to turn off my electricity and am now living by candlelight. I cannot work from my home as my work requires a computer. I have lost income and have spent a fortune trying to mitigate the harm caused by this aggressive intrusion. As the days become shorter and colder, I face the prospect of surviving the winter without electricity. This is a violation in my home and on my property. My outrage raises the following questions. Do we have rights? Do we have the right to say no? Do we have to choose between health and electricity? Do we have the right to feel safe in our homes? Who is protecting us? Do we have a right to protect ourselves? Is industry science factual? Where is the real science? Is a smart meter not a smart meter called by any other name? Is our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness compromised if we are made sick? Will Fortis, a global utility company, be allowed to supersede the rights of U.S. citizens living in the Hudson Valley by imposing their agenda on us?
Thank you.
Thank you. Please consider hearings on this matter.
Premilla Dixell.
Good evening. I'm speaking on behalf of my neighbor who couldn't be here tonight. Her name is Anita Gerke. She is a cancer survivor who lives and works from home. I shall read in the first person from here on. Having read peer-reviewed scientific research out of Yale and Harvard, I became concerned about the use of smart-type meters. The list of illnesses is lengthy and include recurrences of cancer. I repeatedly requested that Central Hudson leave my analog meter on my home. Against my wishes, a technician came with a new meter and I refused it. He promised me that this meter was nothing like a smart meter and was 100% harmless. Within an hour of installation, I became severely ill. My symptoms included diarrhea, dizziness, nausea, ringing in my ears, heart palpitations, and intense hot flashes. I Googled the meter's serial number and it came up Itron smart meter. I demanded it be removed. Central Hudson refused and informed me that if I choose to have my electricity, I must take whatever meter they decide to put on my house. My offer to pay to have an analog meter put back was met with veiled threats of my electricity being turned off. I have been increasingly ill since the new meter was installed. Although I was happy to have Central Hudson deliver and monitor my electricity, I am now being forced to choose between my health and having electricity. I filed a formal complaint with the Public Service Commission, which has supported the position of Central Hudson throughout the entire process. They closed my case saying that Central Hudson has proven the safety of the meters. This is patently untrue and an outrage. Therefore, I urge you to do everything in your power to initiate a comprehensive, independent, non-industry funded study of the safety of these meters. In the interim, we must have an immediate opt-out law in place. Thank you sincerely, Anita Gerke.
Hello, I'm here about the smart meters also. I just started to become aware of smart meters about a year ago when several people that I met in the Hudson Valley who did not know each other and lived in different towns reported having quite serious health issues, neurological, cardiovascular, after smart meters or digital meters were installed on their homes. These are people that did not know each other. And then I had done some further research and also learned that people were finding that their electrical bills were sometimes skyrocketing. And that was reaffirmed for me yesterday when I made a call to an animal rescue group, actually an animal shelter in Florida. And in the course of conversation, the director said, our electrical bill went sky high when we had a smart meter installed. And I said, tell me more. I didn't tell him that I was researching smart meters, but he said that their normal bill, which came to about $39 a month, after the smart meters were installed, came to $200 a month. And I asked him to please repeat that because I thought I had misheard. So I urge you to please hold hearings on the smart meter issue. I don't think anybody has the right to force people to have these on their homes. I think people should be given the right to say no and to opt out. And this person in Florida was actually paying $15 a month to his utility company not to have a smart meter. I don't think anybody should have to pay to opt out. And I don't think anybody should have to live with the fear of being exposed to health hazards of which we don't know the full extent of. Thank you.
Eric Kurtz.
I'm sure none of you thought you were going to hear all about smart meters tonight, or some of you didn't, and you're hearing a lot about them. And I wanted to say something. You know, this is not a central Hudson issue or a Fortis issue only. This is going on throughout the United States. And it's serious enough that 7 states already, the legislatures in 7 states, have given people the opt-out of these things. Have you ever heard in your lifetimes the option of opting out of something? I mean, it's that serious that the legislators voted in 7 states. There are 4 more states now considering it, and it's spreading. About 4 years ago, there was 1 state, California. And now there's 7, there are 4 more. New York is one of them. One of the interesting things about the New York opt-out, right now the law they're proposing is they're saying that they're not putting smart meters in, for instance, Ulster County. They're calling it a different name. But there was an article in the Freeman about all the smart meters Central Hudson was putting in Red Hook. And you can get a copy of that article if you want. They called them smart meters 2 years ago. Now they're advertising on the radio. You probably heard the ads, but these are not smart meters. They are smart meters. And I think it's amazing that if I want to do drugs, if I want to smoke cigarettes, if I want to put lead, if I want to encase my house in asbestos, I can. But I have no choice in these meters. If I don't want them, I'm forced to have them. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Chris Chalice.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for hearing us here today. Okay. I'm here this evening as a concerned citizen living here in the Hudson Valley. I'm a yoga and fitness instructor based in Woodstock, New York, and have prided myself on being healthy and fit for the past 20 years of my adult life. This level of health with which I had attained ended for me 3 years ago when an electronic smart meter was installed on my home. Suddenly after this installation, I experienced a drastic decline in my health and was faced with daily migraines, vertigo, high-pitched ringing in my ears, unbearable and chronic pain throughout my whole body. And for the following 2 years of my life, until I found some level of shielding to survive this onslaught of radiation. It is being billed as being safe and benign, but I am here today to let you know that it is a fallacy. Microwaves affect 100% of biological life and has been proven time and again to damage cellular structure and cause double-stranded breakage to our DNA, which can be irreparable. Microwave exposure has been linked to cancer, the formation of brain tumors, and the growth of tumors of all kinds throughout the body. And for many decades, microwave radiation has been used in warfare as an electronic weapon that is now being directed by the utilities of all places toward all life on Earth, including the bees and the aphids and all of us. We are all electronic creatures ourselves. We have electrical, brain and body impulses and pulses going through our bodies, and we're being affected by our cell phones and by the Wi-Fi and all of these things, and especially now the smart meters, which is like slapping a little cell phone tower onto your own home. So no sanctuary there. Let's see, went a little off course here.
Anyway, so it had been used by the military for decades. Nikola Tesla invented the death ray. He created this. Unfortunately, the military got a hold of it, much to his chagrin, and used it against their enemies. And now suddenly we're the enemy. In the past 2 years, thousands of scientific studies with empirical data, such as the Bioinitiative report, which Raji mentioned, have seriously warned against the use of this type of technology. And for the utilities to ignore, disregard, and brush under the rug this issue is basically signing a death sentence for life as we know it. I think this is downright criminal. I implore you here today to consider the gravity of this issue and help us to have hearings where this evidence can be presented in a concise and thoughtful way so that we all can be educated on the detrimental effects of this, that this is having on all of us, including you here today, your children, your families. At the moment, Central Hudson refuses us all any option to remove the smart meters from our homes. And though it is causing me personally great pain and suffering, it's just simply not an option for me. And you before me here today have the power to help those like myself opt out of this ludicrous and terrorizing protocol that Central Hudson is forcing upon us. A bunch of thugs.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh. I have 2 children myself and can't help but look to the future generations and wonder how the choices of those of their ancestors here today will affect them and their quality of life, if they even exist at that point. If you care about your constituents, your loved ones, even yourselves, who may be quietly suffering some of these issues mentioned here today, I implore you to research, move forward with these hearings, and for the good of the people, for your people, help us here and all life on earth. Thank you.
Chris Finley.
My name is Chris Finley and I live in Woodstock. I'm a civil engineering technician. And recently I moved to Woodstock about 6 months ago. And I found myself it's a beautiful home. I live in Woodstock Commons, and you know, I have one of the new apartments there, and it's absolutely beautiful. But there's something was going on. Me and my wife woke up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock every morning. We couldn't sleep, and that's very unusual. I have 2 children. I have a 6-year-old girl, and I have a 12-year-old stepson. And I did some research. And I found out from another person in where I live that they had these smart meters on my home. And I was very skeptical. How is it, you know, an electrical smart meter going to hurt me? And I just didn't even want to talk about it. But I travel a lot. I go back to Ireland, you know, I've traveled in the last year to Arizona, and we spent some time out in New Jersey on the shore. And I noticed that when I was going, when I was catching a flight, I had this terrible spasm in my chest that I'd never had before. And for about 2 hours on the plane to Arizona, I sat there. Don't talk to me. I couldn't move my head left or right. I was afraid because I was on a flight, and it's a terrible place if you get if you're afraid of getting a heart attack or something. And I've never had these before. And when I came back, I began to get interested in these smart meters because my wife was also having heart palpitations. And finally, she was pregnant when we moved into this house. And she had a miscarriage. And that set me off. I had to find out everything about these smart meters. So some of the other symptoms that, besides insomnia, was I'm asthmatic, but I generally go the holistic route. I've done acupuncture for years, and I've never really had to take my inhaler except in the change of the seasons. I moved in to this apartment where there's a smart meter 6 months ago, and I've been taking medication practically every day for asthma. Now that's very unusual. Now, as I said, I travel a lot, and when I go back to Ireland, I don't have these symptoms. And I don't have these symptoms anywhere else except where this smart meter's on my home. And that's evidence enough for me, you know, that there's something terrible going on. The other symptoms I have is headache, as I said, spasms, the asthma is terrible. I'm very worried about my children. And when I called Central Hudson, they told me it's much less radiation that's in a cell phone, and they quoted a computer, you know, Wi-Fi. But I can switch off my Wi-Fi anytime I want, and I can switch off my cell phone anytime I want.
Wrap it up.
But I can't switch off my 24 hours a day pulsing smart meter that's on my home. And where I come from, the home is sacred. So what the hell are we doing allowing these people put radiation on a home 24 hours a day?
Sir, your time really is up.
It pulses every 13 seconds. I had a meter in to measure this. It pulses every 13 seconds. 1,600 megawatts per meter squared.
The issue with the new smart meters. And the reason why I'm here speaking today is because I'm also feeling the effects of the smart meters. I had no knowledge of this technology until about a year ago. I went to a documentary down in Rosendale, the theater, and it was filled with people who were complaining about how they felt after a new meter was installed from Central Hudson. And when I went home, I started doing my own research because I was feeling strange things also. Insomnia, headaches, shakiness, and it all seemed to come about around the same time that the meter was installed. Now, my story with Central Hudson was, I have a new home. My home was built in 2007, and I got a call, and they said, well, we're installing a new meter on your home tomorrow. And I said, well, I don't need a new meter. My house is very new. Why would I need a new meter? And they said, well, you really don't have any say in the matter. We're going to install one anyway. So they did. And I did not know about what happens to you after you have a smart meter installed. And they will tell you it's not a smart meter. They'll tell you it's something else, but it is a smart meter. And so I started to get sick. As if I didn't have enough going on with Lyme disease, I started getting sick from the smart meter. So I can stand here, and all these other people can stand here all night long and tell you about what's going on with their health, because they're just saying it, but there has been studies that have been done, and I can assure you that there's a lot of studies that are done. This one's from the American Academy of Environmental Medicine. It says, I'm not going to read all of it to you, of course, but it says more independent research is needed to assess the safety of smart meter technology. Board-certified internist and president-elect of AAEM, patients are reporting to physicians the development of symptoms and adverse health effects after smart meters are installed in their homes. Immediate action is necessary to protect the public's health. That's from the American Academy of Medicine. Another one is from, just another small statement here, is from the University of Albany, and they have done studies on it also. And one little paragraph here says, wireless smart meters typically produce a typical relatively potent and very short pulsed RF microwaves whose biological effects have never been fully tested. They emit these millisecond long RF bursts on an average of 9,600 times a day in a maximum of 1,900,000 daily.
Thank you, Doreen.
There are many things we need to do to research this new technology, and we shouldn't be guinea pigs as part of that. Thank you very much.
Leslie Cooper.
Hello, my name is Leslie Cooper, and this is the first time I've come here to speak. I want to thank you for hearing us. And I really don't have very much time to prepare, but I am here to speak on the behalf of my family and also 3 neighbors and their families who were unable to come because of work and family obligations. In my neighborhood, we are surrounded by smart meters now, and this has really been a proliferation in the last 3 years specifically. The thing that's interesting about where I live is that people that have a smart meter on their home right now have actually 2 smart meters in their home because we also have water meters that are smart meters. I was gonna tell you all about what has happened to all my neighbors when they've called Central Hudson and they've asked questions. There's so much to cover, I probably won't say, but I do want to say that they've been told things like, that's not a smart meter, it's an ERT meter, smart meters are not allowed in New York State, smart meters are not approved for use in New York State, and we don't use smart meters. And that meter only pulses a little bit, like less than an hour a day, or maybe so many minutes per day, it's just, or a couple times a day. So what I don't understand is, if they're safe, why are we getting all these untruths from Central Hudson? Because meters like this is a radio frequency meter, it's, very sensitive, and this and many other meters prove that these smart meters are pulsing on and off many times a minute, 24/7. Okay, this is the equivalent of turning your house into a mini cell tower without informed consent or without your permission. Now, I really want to explain that I'm not a Luddite. Actually, I'm a health writer and an internet publisher of patient education. I do a lot of health research, and I have over 15 electronic devices in the network in my home. I intentionally choose to have no wireless devices in my home. My whole life depends on technology. I have everything wired down and grounded, and I've been looking into concerns about health concerns, about radio frequency and EMF, and dirty electricity since 1983. So some of the people here that have spoken have pointed to the Bioinitiative report, which is from 2012, and have also are making available other studies to you. I'm asking the Ulster County Legislature to hold hearings and to consider the health and environmental impacts of these devices. The smart meters are really pushing everything over the top. They are increasing the exposure that our human beings are having in our environment. Just want to say
Your
that
time is up.
Went to PubMed last night, and I searched radio frequency radiation to find studies since the Bioinitiative report. I only got to page 36 out of 150 pages of search results on scientific studies. Very recent.
Thank you, ma'am.
Turn this down.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else signed up for public comment? What else signed up? Is there anybody in chambers who would like to speak? Come up, state your name.
My name is Cheryl Schneider. I'm a resident of Rosendale. I own a business in Kingston. And my expertise is in science and technology. I have a degree in atmospheric science from SUNY Albany. And I've been working in IT. And talk about cognitive dissonance when I found out about smart meters. I live in a world of Wi-Fi and cell phones and iPads and all sorts of wireless technology. I was one of the first people who knew how to wire up routers. And I found out about smart meters and discovered I had one in my house. And I was on the road for most of the time that I've had one. I've had one since 2002. I don't know how that can even be, but that's what Central Hudson is telling me, because I changed mine out in 2010. When I got off the road in 2008, I started having all sorts of medical and health problems. Now, I'm considered to be very healthy, but I've been hospitalized twice with all kinds of fainting, vertigo-like, and I had a full-blown seizure. I've never had seizures in my life. I'm 58 years old. I've been through 2 complete rounds of cardio, 2 complete workups of neurological symptoms, the ambulatory EEGs and the cardio stress test and carotid artery tests, and nobody can find anything wrong with me. And I can't believe, now that I've been doing the research, these meters, they put out stuff that's 100 times worse than your cell phone. Now, I don't sleep with my cell phone. I don't have it strapped to my head 24/7. But I cannot do anything to get rid of this meter. My last hospitalization was in May, and you know, who knows what the next one's gonna be. But they can't find anything because there's nothing to find. You know, for me to face this and own it and look at it and talk to other people about having to do something about this means I have to look at my entire career, everything I've done, 24 years as a computer consultant. I have to take a look at all of that and how I'm gonna make money in the future. But I'm more concerned about my health and the health of the rest of us. And if the technology is really doing this, then I've gotta do something, and I've gotta teach and educate my clients in what to do to protect themselves, their employees, their children. We also have to look at all the Wi-Fi and all the heavy-duty meters that are going into our schools, especially our elementary and middle schools. And again, the bio-initiative, we've got to look at the bio-initiative. Everybody needs to take a look at that and the subsequent research that's been happening. It's not easy to do this because it flies in the face of all the cool and groovy and progressive stuff that we've been, getting out of this technology. But smart meters just have to go. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in chambers who'd like to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to resolutions.